Part 101. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1010. Latest website. Mark sat in the driver's seat and was very unhappy when he heard the sound of the phone hanging up. If he didn't give it, he wouldn't give it to him. He had at least 20 pounds in vouchers. He put on his seat belt and sat in the car without moving. The more he thought about it, the more annoyed he was. Every day working to earn that little money, you still have to get scolded. Compared with GFN, the gap is huge. At least no one scolds me here, there are praises and affirmations everywhere. Even successful people like Lu Feng say that he has unlimited potential, but is just one chance away. To these people, Lu Feng is like a scumbag. He keeps telling them that you are great, but those bosses are too bad and don't see your goodness. Those who don't have a job think he is right, they have a job. When I went back and saw the virtue of my boss, I felt even more good about Lu Feng. The three companies Siemens, Beko, and Haili no longer pay too much attention to GFeng. Fuzhou and Miguo, in addition to keeping a close eye on GFeng's R/U0026D company, do not pay much attention to Lu Feng, who is deep in Europe. Much attention. The R/U0026D company's talent center in the United States has been completely cancelled, resulting in greater losses. However, laboratory cooperation has been launched around the world. As long as you have more money, there will always be people to help you with your work. Be it enemies or friends, some people don't care so much. In particular, several smart and capable young men from the marketing department joined the R/U0026D company, and some important people got carried away while playing in Thailand. Disagreements have also begun to appear within Goldman Sachs. Some executives believe that there is no need to focus on GFN Electronics, a global financial group, being led by a small company. Big bosses like Lampert are not looking for value players around the world. In corporate investment, looking at Lu Feng is simply too high a level. There were constant battles between the two sides in several high-level internal meetings. After all, for such a large company, it was really unreasonable to stare at GFN. Lambert could only concentrate on his own affairs. GFN, who had been having a heated discussion, had started from scratch in just 1 month. Waiting for big things, they become trivial things that no one cares about. There was a knock on the office door, and Eisen walked in. He held a research form about Samsung in his hand, put it on the table and said, "There are also 2 documents about GFN Electronics. Do you want to bring them over?" Lambert waved his hands a little feebly and said, "There have been differences within the company. If GFN cannot take another big step forward, this matter will probably end here." Eisen took a deep breath and said, "I think he has reached this point. He is proud enough to reach this point in 5 years. Our current news shows that his progress in Europe has not been as good as before. It's not going well, after all, Europe is not China. I hope so, but I feel that when he appears on the international scene again, it will be shocking." Lambert was very sure of Lu Feng's ability. In 1995, the World Trade Organization was formally established, and several Swiss countries were included in the European Union. The world was advancing rapidly towards integration, and international transactions entered its peak period. For companies like Goldman Sachs, this is where they make big money. The global landscape has undergone tremendous changes. It can be said that some international affairs this year have laid the international foundation for the next few decades, and Lu Feng is still busy organizing his own conference for hundreds of people. John helped Lu Feng introduce the CEO of Schroders Group's financial group, who gave him a loan contract. They were not willing to take risks, but they were willing to be a middleman. I contacted a small local bank, which is the main issuer of the loan, and Schroders Financial Group is the guarantor and is engaged in insurance business. After the money passes through their hands, they charge a 1% fee and then carry out this type of insurance. The products are packaged into financial packages, mixed with stable financial products, and sold in banks. GFN Group is the second responsible party for the subprime mortgage. GFN was the one who ultimately issued the loan, but the main responsibility does not lie with GFN. You can understand it simply and crudely as if you find a small bank to lend money, Schroeder insures the loan and charges a fee. For example, if the annual interest rate of the loan is 5%, they charge 1%, and the rest is of the 4% below. 2 points are given to the bank, and the 2 points of income are packaged and stuffed into financial products. These financial products are comprehensive products, which are mixed with national debt, corporate debt, and private debt. GFN Group does not enjoy any profits. It is the company that issues the terminal loans. If there is a large-scale default on these loans, GFN can stand up and say that it is a signatory and has nothing to do with it. Schroeder will say that it is an insurance company and only be responsible to the bank. As a debt collector, banks will collect debts from Schroeders. The financial products packaged and sold by Schroeders will be deemed to be losses. Although the purchaser of the financial products will not bear all the losses, the risks involved are too diluted. Smaller. What's more, there are a lot of no liability clauses and legal hedging clauses in it. They are definitely guaranteed to earn the 1% handling fee. In the guest reception room of Schroeder's financial group, Lu Feng looked at the 3-finger-thick contract description in front of him, glanced at John next to him and said, "Such a thick description, I am afraid that even if I find a legal team, I may not be able to complete it within a few days." Finished reading. There is no need to read these. They are all sample contract descriptions. You can still believe this, John said to Lu Feng. When can we lend money? Lu Feng asked. The contract was signed quickly. If we speed up the process and the bank cooperates, it can be done tomorrow. Okay, I'll have a lawyer take a look at it. If there's no problem, I'll sign it today. Lu Feng is not stupid. When you are abroad, you have to be optimistic about some legal provisions. If they say there is no responsibility, there is no responsibility. Such a big thing cannot be too trivial. He temporarily hired a local law firm to verify the contract and was busy until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. After confirming that there was no problem, Lu Feng signed the contract and officially became qualified to issue loans as an agent. Lu Feng also took out the loan. A nice name is called Turning Point Loan. It means that after receiving this money, they will reach a turning point in life, but no one will tell them whether this turning point is upward or downward. Let's have dinner together in the evening. Tomorrow is when a new conference begins. Everyone in the company is making preparations. It has been almost a month since these people came to the UK. They have been busy with this matter for a month, and the results will be seen tomorrow. In the room, Lu Feng was smoking a cigarette and thinking about how to play tomorrow. He was quite satisfied with the current situation, at least there was not too much interference from the outside world. There is not much point in doing anything fancy anymore, and they are tired of seeing it. Lu Feng thinks that it would be better to go on stage directly with the support of a group of people tomorrow. In this way, the 4 beauties around him will completely you can eliminate it and save some money. Lu Feng put out the cigarette butt in the ashtray, walked out of the room and knocked on Li Ziaxi's door opposite. "Who is it?" Li Ziaxi sat up, wearing pajamas and asked a little alertly. "It's me." "Have you found the 4 beauties accompanying you tomorrow?" Lu Feng asked. "If you haven't found them, don't look for them anymore." The sounds coming from the room were a bit chaotic, and there was no answer. After a few dozen seconds, the door to the room opened a gap, and Li Ziaxi put her head around a towel and asked, "Who is it?" Her bath towel was lower down and too tight, making her look like she was about to come out. Lu Feng instinctively looked at her face for a few seconds and said, "Did I bother you to take a shower?" "I'll explain, Sky." "Mr. Lu, it's you." Li Ziaxi panicked instantly and hurriedly pulled up the towel. When he pulled it, it immediately loosened, and he was in a hurry. The chaos was so fake, the movements in the hands were obviously for blocking, but there was leakage in the east and west, it was so perfect that nothing was blocked. Lu Feng stood staring at her fussing and said, "Okay, that's all. Stop messing with it. My ex-wife didn't show me as much as you did." She turned off the lights. Those 4 people hired without. Li Ziasi didn't know whether it was because of being exposed or the girl's shyness. She held the corners of the towel in front of her chest and looked at Lu Feng with a blushing face. "It's already decided. I'll call to see if I can withdraw. It's settled. Let the marketing department return the Rolls-Royce tomorrow. I'll just walk on stage." "You should go to bed early," Lu Feng ordered. "Okay, good night, Mr. Lu." After Li Ziasi said this, she closed the door and leaned against the door, breathing heavily. She really wanted to design something, but she really couldn't control the bath towel in the end, and it was the first time she did this, so she was very panicked. On the contrary, Lu Feng was very calm. "Have I not done enough?" Li Ziasi's work during this period was absolutely exhausting and he made rapid progress, but Mr. Lu never expressed much about himself. In Li Ziasi's mind, he was already risking his life tonight, or how to take the initiative. Little did she know that Lu Feng had played more than she had ever seen, so she still had this bit of determination. Back in the room, Lu Feng lit another cigarette to calm down, secretly wondering how long he could keep this quiet. Of course he hopes to give himself a year. This method that does not advertise and does not directly conflict with traditional business is the quietest. It is like an assassination in the middle of the night. When the real knife is shown, it will definitely be bloody. Half a year. Lu Feng muttered, put half a cigarette in the ashtray, stood up, washed up and went to bed. Early the next morning, arrangements were made for how to get on stage. What everyone was most worried about was that without the vouchers to attract people today, the number of people would be cut in half. At the morning meeting, Lu Feng and everyone, only 60% of the people would come today. We achieved results. At 8:10, Sean arrived with 2 assistants. He also wanted to see Lu Feng's results during this period. Set off. Before 8:30, everyone got on the bus. Lu Feng sat in the front row, Sean sat next to him, and Li Ziasi acted as the translator behind him. "How many people do you think will come today?" Sean asked, puffing on his cigar. The car shook slightly. Lu Feng leaned back on his chair and closed his eyes and said, "Don't make any predictions. We'll know at 9 o'clock. You haven't said anything about the financial problems of these people. Even if they are willing, they must have the ability. After all, the first priority is to fill their stomachs." Sean asked a second question. "I forgot to tell you that I am qualified for a loan, with a single loan of £15,000, Lu Feng said casually. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1011. Latest website. What? Sean looked at Lu Feng in surprise and asked, "As the main responsible party, you have a large joint liability. As a result, the cost will be much higher than the traditional sales method." "Don't worry." Lu Feng closed his eyes and said, "I'm not a fool." Sean was a little shocked. All he could think of was that Schroeder helped. This kind of thing is not something that can be dealt with by ordinary relationships. Now it seems that GFN Electronics has been deeply tied to the Schroeder Group. However, for such a small company, why would Schroeder be so desperate to help? The car parked in the hotel parking lot. It was not even 8:30, and there were already crowds of people outside the hotel. Lu Feng opened his eyes and saw this situation. He hurriedly sat up straight, opened the car window and took a look, and said to himself, "We have succeeded. 80%. Sean looked out with wide eyes and muttered, 80% of my salary is gone. Everyone who came today was dressed in their most respectable clothes. At first glance, They did not look like they were here to receive cheap vouchers, but rather like they were here to attend a high-end banquet. The car stopped at the back entrance. Lu Feng got out of the car. Manager Lu was already waiting. He said to Lu Feng with excitement, "Mr. Lu, I see that the people outside are very busy. It looks like everyone is here. It seems like it's coming. It's better if you all come. I'll take whatever you order." "Have you brought the products?" Lu Feng asked. "I only brought 10 VCDs, 10 TV sets, and 10 stereos for display purposes." "That's enough. The main thing today is to prepare all the contracts and prepare as much as possible." After Lu Feng ordered, he walked inside. The scene was busy. Lu Feng sat in front of the makeup mirror and asked the makeup artist to help clean up. The door opened and people outside had walked in. Lu Feng could even hear a small noise in his ears. The time was about to point to 9 o'clock. Lu Feng stood up and tidied his clothes, picked up the water glass and took a sip of water. He moved his mouth and whispered, "Harvest." The exciting music had already sounded, and everyone walked to their seats quite gracefully. The host stepped onto the stage, the music stopped, she looked at everyone and said, "Dear wealthy people, dear brothers and sisters, we meet again, very soon. It is an honor to meet you here. There is a saying that those who persevere will get rich. This is the third time for you to participate in our event. Today you will have great gains. Okay, I won't talk nonsense. Next, let's welcome the head of wealth, Mr. Lu Feng, with warm applause. Come on. Clap with me." Everyone at the scene stood up. These people were completely familiar with the process, and they were no longer reserved at all. Accompanied by the powerful music, each one's movements were larger than the last. 2 rows of people who looked like bodyguards came out from the backstage. Lu Feng was walking in the middle, surrounded by 4 voluptuous beauties, who looked very imposing. Walking onto the stage, 20 bodyguards were arranged in 2 rows, and 4 beauties stood at the 4 corners of Lu Feng. Lu Feng stood in the position of the stars and the moon, raised his finger, pointed at everyone present, and shouted, "Come together. Pa! 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 Pa!" The applause at the scene was very neat. It lasted for 5 minutes. The hands that clapped were all red, but everyone's faces were full of excitement. The music slowly dropped. Lu Feng took the microphone, and it was as if he had been pumped. Shouted, "My dear brothers and sisters, family members who are about to succeed, are you ready for success? Ready? I can't hear you, are you ready? Ready? Very good. I see that everyone is wearing new clothes today and is full of energy. This is very good. Only when you are in good condition will wealth come closer to you." Lu Feng said to the crowd, "Everyone, please take a seat." After everyone sat down, Lu Feng stopped talking nonsense this time and went straight to the point. "In the first 2 conferences, I heard many brothers and sisters say that even if they want to follow me to make a fortune, life is very difficult now and they have no capital. I also know these practical problems. Last night I held an international meeting with the company's executives. On the spot, I asked them to withdraw $1 billion from Swiss banks and lend them to everyone as startup capital. At that time, some people said, 'I'm afraid of you. No more.' I directly asked this executive to resign. If my brothers and sisters can't pay it back, then they won't pay it back. You are all people who want to succeed. I believe that if there is really a big picture, people will not care about this little money. Yes, anyone who dares to insult my brother, no matter who he is, will never do it." Many people below were a little moved when they heard this. They were executives from International. They didn't know where International was. Anyway, when they heard the word International, they thought it was very high-end. Such a big man usually wouldn't look at her twice, but now Lu Feng fired him for her. Louise felt indescribable warmth in her heart. Apart from her parents, Lu Feng was probably the only one in the world who could treat her well. So good. Things have been settled. After the conference call, a company veteran called me and told me a story about teaching a man to fish rather than teaching him to fish. If I give you money, you may really, if you don't have that much motivation, it will easily become a stumbling block on the road to success. Lu Feng stood on the stage with a heartbroken look and said, I can't ruin you. After our discussion, we changed it to a loan. At this time, they said they would align with the highest interest rate in Europe. I can't listen to them this time. Yes, I stayed up until 3 o'clock last night, had a big fight with them, and convinced the executives overnight. Being able to give my brothers and sisters the lowest interest rate is what I should do. If any brothers and sisters cannot afford to repay the loan due to various reasons after receiving this money, come to me and I will waive it for you. If the company doesn't agree, I will pay for you. If I don't have this courage, how can I be qualified to stand up for you? The scene was filled with applause and cheers, and many people had red eyes. Mark was sitting in the middle and 2 lines of streams were already dripping down his face. He kept patting with his hands. He was really touched. Where can he find such a good person? There is no one better and more considerate than Lu Feng in the world. He is like the closest brother, who will always be his solid backing. Louise wiped her tears with her hands and held her child in her arms. She finally got through it. She finally found someone who would always be kind to her. Even if the sky fell, he would still be reliable. Everyone, each loan of £15,000 is enough for everyone to live for more than a year. This is a good opportunity for you. I hope you will seize the opportunity and work hard. I told you last time, I will bring you 3 products that wish me success today. They will make me a world-class rich man and will also allow you to walk on your own path to success. Live music started playing, and the staff backstage brought the products up. Several TVs, VCDs, and stereos were placed on the stage. Lu Feng said to the crowd, these are 3 products that will help you succeed. They have one set of products. This one is called VCD, which is the world's most advanced technology. You only need a disc to watch anything you want. Only GFN in the world has mastered this technology. Even the United States, the most technologically advanced country, cannot produce such a product. This product is called Miwa TV. Its appearance looks the same as an ordinary TV, but everyone, please pay attention to the protective panels on both sides, which are equipped with 2 band transmitters. We all know that the TV receives the radio wave signal and converts it into a picture. And this kind of radio wave signal has a fatal flaw. Those who sell TV sets will not tell you. Think about it, in recent years, with the development of science and technology, have there been more and more weird diseases? Lu Feng guided and asked, I didn't have these diseases before. How did it come about? The people in the audience suddenly thought of something, and everyone looked shocked. Yes, it is caused by radio waves and radiation. Since other TVs need to receive signals, radiation will cause long-term damage to the human body. Think about it, you sit in front of the TV every day, day after day, and it won't take too long. You will get sick after a long time, so what kind of disease will you get? Lu Feng said seriously to everyone, I tell you, cancer. As soon as these words came out, everyone was in an uproar. And our products, these 2-meter wave transmitters, have the same function as filters. They receive information signals, emit meter waves, hedge radiation, and crush all invisible cancer killers such as radiation and radio waves within 1 meter of the TV. Come on, this kind of technology is the only one in the world. After listening to these 2 technologies that are unique in the world, there was a round of applause. Next, I would like to introduce the 3rd product to you. Compared with the first 2, this speaker is only used on TVs. It is called a sound band massage speaker. As we all know, sound spreads through the air. Ripples form as they propagate. This kind of ripple is so small that we can't feel it at all, but our pores can feel it. We have adjusted the sound wave band in this speaker that is most suitable for human pore breathing. When you can't feel it, you can feel it. You relax. What is the most important thing in a person's life? Of course, health is the most important. In a healthy environment, you can have the most perfect home theater enjoyment. Think about it. When you are tired, you come home, put in a disc, and watch. How satisfying is it to feel rejuvenated after watching your favorite movie or TV series? Lu Feng also introduced the functions of the TV, such as eye protection, anti-fatigue, and TV masks. The more you watch it, the younger you become. He almost said that after watching this TV, you will come back to life. I've almost told you about the product. You may have doubts in your mind. Why should such a good product be sold through the hands of brothers and sisters? Let me tell you this: when I first entered Europe, Siemens, Beko, and Hainan, these manufacturers are targeting me, and there are threats and intimidation, but I still come. Lu Feng looked at everyone with a heavy face and said, I blocked their way of making money, and of course they don't want these products to be launched here. Latest website. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1012. Latest website. Brothers and sisters, this world is not so beautiful, and good products may not appear in front of you. Those rich people and capitalists will definitely strangle us in order to maintain their status, because the product is so good. Once it is promoted on a large scale, it will definitely be a sweep for them. Lu Feng said with a serious face, not only those electronic companies, but also terminal retailers. Before I came to Europe, Walmart, Carrefour, and a large chain electrical appliance retailer in your country found me, hoping to represent our products. They offered very generous terms and could easily make over $1 billion a year, but I refused. Whose money are they making? It's your money. They will only raise the prices of these products by several percent times, and then sell it to you. Why should I cheat my brothers and sisters? I refused on the spot, scolded them, and told them on the spot that I just want to come to Europe. I won't let you make a penny, and I want to give the most affordable price to the people here. Do you know what they said? I also said that if you want to avoid others here, don't even think about selling one. Brothers and sisters, with such a good product and such powerful product power, coupled with your abilities hidden in your body, do you think we can get rid of these middlemen? Lu Feng asked loudly. Able. Okay, I don't make money, I just want to make a point. Tomorrow you can get 2 sets of products and recommend them to people around you. I will give them to you at the cost price. For example, this healthy sound band TV has a cost price of £600, the market price is £799, as long as you recommend a set, the profit of £199 will be given to you. Health is priceless. We should think of our families first. Think about it. Your relatives, friends, neighbors, and colleagues are still watching poisonous TV. Aren't you worried about them? Sean stood on the stage and shook his head. He looked at the state of the people below. These people already believed that these products could bring them health. Sean knew the cost of the TV. After passing customs, the landing price was less than £300, 100% profit. He has already been involved in false propaganda, Huang Mao muttered from the side. The problems here really need to be investigated, they are very serious, Gao Nobi also said seriously. Why can't Sean see these problems? He also sees that Lu Feng is here to make quick money. He doesn't dare to think about how to deal with these problems later. If there is a slight punishment, it will be in vain. I believe that these 3 products will be popular throughout the UK. The first people to join our team will be the first to welcome the light. I help you because I hope to pass on this love for children. Lu Feng standing on the stage, he said very sincerely, when I get rich, I think about everyone. I hope everyone will get rich, and I also think about the friends around me, because my motto in life is that one person's wealth is by no means rich, and everyone is rich. That's the real wealth. It's not just about having a rich wallet, but also about being rich in soul. We love the world, we believe in love, and we deliver love. The simplest passion will definitely defeat those evil rich people, so I hope everyone will sell products again. When we are young, we must care for the people around us and let them join our world of love. They may not understand us, and that's okay. When they truly understand our great love, they will definitely be grateful to you. Use products to protect health, use products to spread love, make life sunnier, and let the soul infect the world. This is what I want to share with you. Jia Feng's spirit is to hoe the strong and help the weak, and to help everyone who is trapped in the quagmire of poverty. Jia Feng's door is always open. Whether you are willing to join us or not, I thank you all for your company these days. Next, let us go hand in hand to welcome wealth. Thank you all. Lu Feng stood on the stage and bowed slightly before walking towards the audience. The host came up to take over the baton and asked everyone to go to the registration office in an orderly manner. Only after signing an exclusive contract with Jia Feng Group can the loan be made. It was also agreed that 2 sets of products will be given to everyone tomorrow. If they sell them, they will get the profit. You can just return it if you can't sell it. Louise stood up, hugged her child and walked towards the registration desk on the side of the stage without any hesitation. This was her last hope, and at this moment she firmly believed in every word Lu Feng said. Such a good product would definitely be easy to sell. It won't be a loss if it can't be sold, and I still have a loan of £15,000. Lu Feng got off the stage and looked ahead quietly. Except for 7 or 8 people walking out the door, the rest were rushing towards the registration desks on both sides of the stage. Manager Li walked over and said to Lu Feng, "Mr. Lu, if you take the product without paying in advance, what if someone runs away?" Lu Feng turned back to look at Manager Li and said, "Just deduct half of the loan." Yeah too. The scene was extremely hot. Mark stood there in a daze. He was not poor. He had a car, a house, a job, and no need for a loan. But should he seize this opportunity or not? When he was hesitating, a man in his 50s next to him said to the woman next to him, "Hurry up and leave. The queue will be long soon. This is a waste of money opportunity." I didn't see everyone going crazy. Mark was stunned for a moment, and after thinking about it carefully, yes, it seemed that there was no risk at all, and he hurriedly moved toward the crowd ahead. The on-site contracts are all printed in advance. All you need to do is show your ID, make a copy, and sign the contract. No one has time to see what the contract is. Now it's time to sign the prostitution clause, and they all sign it in a hurry. Today's speech was not long. At noon, everyone signed the contract and the venue was cleared to return to the company. Today, a total of 965 people have signed, and everyone has signed a loan contract. Among them, 300 people are unemployed. Men account for a small proportion, 37%, and the rest are all women. The average age is 43 years old, Manager Lu told Lu Feng the temporary statistics. Very good. We will still be here tomorrow. 2 sets of products will be distributed to each person. The first batch has been completed and the second batch will be launched immediately according to this model. I believe everyone is familiar with this process during this period, so we must speed up. For example, the first game today, the second game tomorrow, and the contract will be signed directly the day after tomorrow. Lu Feng said to the 2 managers, "We need to ignite multiple lines and have our products spread across major cities in the UK in a short time." Manager Li glanced at the tired people in the car. Such an activity was really consuming. He didn't dare to speak. He looked at Manager Lou. Of course, Manager Lou was also tired. He whispered, "Mr. Lou, why don't you take a day off? Everyone seems to be it's a bit uncomfortable." "Okay, let's take a day off. Since we want to get on the right track, employees will not participate in the distribution of leaflets, venue decoration, and taking the lead in applauding. You can contact some outsourcing companies and find temporary workers to form a streamlined process, and you need to train and discover people who can give speeches on my behalf." You know, after Lu Feng finished speaking, he thought of something again and hurriedly said, "In each area, set up a general leader, and choose one day a week to hold gatherings, even if it is not spend money and gather a bunch of people in the park to chat and share their thoughts, so that they can form a region. Such as a team model like the London East City team." The two of them nodded and remembered. Sean pondered Lu Feng's words and asked, "Are you afraid that if they don't gather together for a long time, their self-confidence will be polished away by the people around them, and they will return to normal life?" "You can't say that. It should be about gathering the core strength of the team. After all, they are not working. They are most likely to slack off when they are alone. Let's gather together to communicate about sales and learn from each other." Lu Feng looked at Sean with a smile. Sean smiled but said nothing, glanced out the window and said, "Mr. Lu, your business is your contribution to the world. If someone like you becomes a Christian classroom, there are some things you can't say." "Nonsense," Lu Feng reminded. The arrogance on Sean's face has completely disappeared. He has to admit that if he were to compete with Lu Feng at the bottom, 10 of him would not be enough for the other party to deal with. This set of things cannot be formed overnight, absolutely. It can only be made by people who have worked hard at the bottom and have a detailed understanding of the first-line market. "I don't want the salary. If you need any information here later or want to meet someone, just ask," Sean said very kindly. Huang Mao and Gao Nozaliang were a little anxious when they heard this. Didn't he just give a few speeches that were so embarrassing that it made people's scalp numb? They didn't know whether they would be successful or not. Sean looked like he was compromising, which made people feel uncomfortable. The two young men were very unconvinced. "There's no need to look down, this is what you should do. Sean is only half served now. When he gets bigger later, how to avoid being dealt with will be the most difficult part. There is no need to be so close to Lu Feng. If something happens, he can get away easily." The next day, several large trucks were parked in the parking lot in front of the Kelet Hotel. A large number of people gathered together. After signing, they took the goods and put them in their cars. Many of them asked about the loan and were told how many days you can then come down and pay directly to their account. A group of people gathered together. Manager Li chose a place for everyone, a leisure square not far away, to gather there every Sunday, and asked them to elect several people in charge through internal voting to be responsible for this area. These responsible persons will then connect with the company. Louise returned home with 2 sets of products and wanted to sell them before unloading the car. She felt that the TV in her home was unsafe, although she could no longer afford the electricity bill and the TV had not been used for a long time. But still want to sell it and replace it with Jiafeng products. On the other hand, the first thing she thought of was Mrs. Paul. She had been using other people's phone calls a lot during this period, so of course she had to think of her if something good happened. Louise held her child in her arms and knocked on Mrs. Paul's door without saying a word. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1013. Latest website. Mrs. Paul opened the door and saw Louise with a rather unhappy look on her face. She thought she was calling again and said, "If you can't find a job, I suggest you sell your house and rent a house. At least this way you can have a phone." "No, Mrs. Paul, I'm here to thank you today. I've been working hard to find a job during this period, but I found another huge business opportunity and learned about something that endangers your health. If you don't take any measures, if you don't take action, it will be a matter of time before you get cancer, Louise said particularly sincerely. Residents in this suburban area generally have low academic qualifications, and most of the women are housewives. This is why Lu Feng chose this type of people. They are the easiest to fool. Mrs. Paul invited Louise to her home and explained the matter in detail. Mrs. Paul was shocked on the spot. She didn't know what was going on during this time. She fell into a coma after watching TV every day. She feels heavy and lacks energy, it's just a cold. Now when she hears Louise say this, how can she not be scared? Is this thing useful? A TV can have such a great effect, Mrs. Paul asked a little doubtfully. I plan to keep one set for myself and use it for 2 days. Then I will tell you when I feel better, Louise suggested. Okay, I'll go take a look too. The two moved a set of products and put them in Louise's house. However, in terms of product strength, Jiafeng's TVs are a bit lower in technology than Siemens, but larger in size. After all, domestic labor, space, and raw materials are more expensive. It's cheap, and with 2 speakers, the atmosphere is definitely unmatched by ordinary TVs. That's how people are. Sometimes living is about living with energy. When a person firmly believes that this TV can bring good effects, the psychological implications are often positive effects and will make people feel better. The two of them sat there and watched it. After watching TV for an hour, I obviously feel mentally better. Mrs. Paul bought a set of products without saying anything. In a short period of time, a large number of people sold their first set of products, all to people around them. There were more than 800 people in the team. In less than 3 days, there were already 200 more people. Most of these people, they all come here for loans, and some of them want to come in and make money. Lu Feng took advantage of this period of time to start systematic training and set up a separate company to recruit temporary workers. He was mainly responsible for the process of meeting venues, speeches, and applause. He also divided his speech into 6 parts, recruiting a group of professional actors studied, euphemistically called the Great Speaker Program. Carry out regular maintenance for the developed team, organize occasional gatherings for everyone to cheer each other up, and introduce successful ones to give them supreme glory, serving as a role model to prevent people from leaving the group after failing to make money. All the people brought from the country returned to the office, and all the external organizational work was handed over to the newly established company, and this company has a cooperative relationship with Jiafeng. If something goes wrong, it can be cut in time and risk control done. 2 more floors of office space have been rented in the building next door. There are already hundreds of local employees, some of whom are busy distributing flyers, and the hired temporary workers are learning to applaud, build momentum, and enhance the atmosphere. In another single room, there were 7 or 8 local men standing in crisp suits. They looked very heroic and spoke with a London accent because they were all from London. They talked passionately against the white wall about their successes, talking about their brothers and keeping silent about their families. The core content of the set is affinity. Each person's expression method is different. The 33-year-old man on the left mainly adopts a tough guy style. Fought with the CEO of Walmart in order to help these poor brothers and sisters. The 29-year-old young man in the middle is mainly about warmth. His eyes turn red from time to time while facing the white wall, and he chokes with sobs and says that I once had the same fate as you, but I just refused to be suppressed by fate and changed my fate against the will of heaven to get where I am today. The one on the right is a strong young man. He dominates the atmosphere and takes the lead in applause. He talks about being an orphan, growing up with a lot of food, giving back to his brothers and sisters, standing in front of a white wall, and calmly talking about how to destroy Wall Street. Guy's story. These 3 people are the 3 that Lu Feng is most optimistic about. After he gave another speech, he no longer showed his face. Instead, as the largest boss, He formed a hierarchy within the group. Only in some large events with tens of thousands of people only when you join the team will you appear, and those who have just joined are not eligible to see you. You need to reach a certain level before you are eligible. If you are more awesome, you can treat the other person to dinner alone. In this way, a framework has been prepared in terms of speech, hierarchy, and motivation. At that time, we only need to create a few legendary figures who will have dinner with Lu Feng less than half a year after joining GFN, and we can inspire many people. Lu Feng looked around and confirmed that there would be no problem tomorrow before returning to the company. Sean has been at the company for the past 2 days. He worked as a consultant, but now he is more like an employee. Secretary Lee, please inform the 2 managers to come over for a meeting and compare the latest data, Lu Feng said to Li Ziasi, just in my office. A few minutes later, not only did the 2 managers come over, but Sean also came in with a folder. Huang Mao and Gao Nozi followed behind and were a little unhappy. They followed Sean during this period, but they didn't feel anything. Honor. They eat the same food as everyone else and go to work on time. Others in the company don't respect them at all. The 2 of them are quite complaining, especially Huang Mao, who flirted with Li Ziasi a few days ago. They originally thought that with their own capital, a woman from a poor country, she didn't even reach out to her, but she didn't expect to be rejected. This made the 2 of them feel even more unhappy. They followed the boss to eat meat, not to eat shit. What are you doing here? Lu Feng looked at Sean and asked. I'm also here to hear the latest progress so that I can prepare for future business plans. After Sean finished speaking, he sat down and looked a little shameless. Sean has sorted out the entire process in the past few days. From a legal point of view, Lu Feng has avoided the current legal risks. Although this direct sales model is very hummed up, it is really enforceable. In terms of business cases, it is definitely a big catch. He dissected some details and found that Lu Feng incorporated a large number of insurance industry models into this plan, and also absorbed some things from MLM. It has a very perfect integration in many aspects such as crowd delineation, product positioning, and interpersonal sales. He brought things from many industries and pieced them together into the current GFN model. This also means a new business model. If you figure this out, develop a business case, sell it to some companies, or give lectures, it will be very valuable. As for Huang Mao and Gao Ji, they still thought they were tacky. Sean could only lament that young people were still just like that. No matter if they were tacky or not, it was a good thing if they could make money. Not a single page of your plan is usable, but some local information is still very helpful. Lu Feng looked at him and said, it may involve business secrets, please get out. When Huang Mao heard this, he immediately became angry. He was already cowardly enough, but he still slapped his nose on his face. Ignoring the translation, Huang Mao yelled at Lu Feng, who are you letting out? You're such a piece of shit, who cares about listening to it? I've tolerated you for a long time, you'd better show some respect to me, you know. Lu Feng frowned at the angry Huang Mao and said, if you don't want to listen, just go out. We can't get out, why should we listen to you? Gao Nozi also spoke up, staring at Lu Feng and saying with an unkind look, how old are you? How knowledgeable do you have? Just that stupid business model, and it's still comparable to that of an international company. Dude. Are you worthy? You're pretty good at bragging on the stage, shouting, and talking with us. What school did you graduate from? Which international company have you been a senior executive in? There were constant quarrels in the office, and the 2 managers stood there not daring to speak. After all, in the eyes of the whole company, these 3 people were international bosses. Foreigners themselves now represent high-end people in the eyes of Chinese people, let alone high-end people. Of high-end people. Lu Feng looked at the 2 of them and knew very well that he just felt that he was about the same age as them and not as well educated as them, but he could hire them and not look down upon them. I graduated from elementary school and have never been a senior executive in a multinational company. Lu Feng stared at the two of them. Both of us graduated from Oxford University. During our internship, we worked as assistant to the president at Morgan Investment. Now we are working as assistant to Sean, but this assistant is no longer suitable and we will go out to join a big company. When the time comes, a guy like you wants to see me. Huh. Huang Mao looked very arrogant and wanted to show that he was superior to others. Sean couldn't understand what the two were doing, but he could tell that they didn't want to do it anymore. Lu Feng stared at the two of them and asked with a gloomy look, "Are you done? That's it? Get out." Huang Mao and Gao Nose looked at Sean with a gloomy look. If his boss was still so hummed up and couldn't lead him to enjoy the honor, then he might as well change his boss. Sean frowned slightly and said, "If you don't want to stay, you can go out." Huang Mao's face turned ugly when he heard this, and said solemnly, "As an internationally renowned business figure, I am ashamed of you. Let's go." The two of them strode towards the door. As soon as they walked out of the door, they turned around and pointed their fingers at Lu Feng and said, "You remember, in front of me, you will always be a little person who can't stand on the stage. In the future, you will be a little person, pay the price for your disrespect. Just go, why are you talking so much? Close the door." Lu Feng ordered Li Ziasi at the door. After Li Ziasi closed the door, Sean saw the two people walking away in high spirits through the glass. He sighed to himself that they were young people after all, and said to Lu Feng, "I'm sorry, I didn't manage my employees well. It's a meeting, let's talk about the latest sales data." Lu Feng didn't respond, leaning on his chair and looking at the two managers. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1014. Latest website. Manager Lu opened his folder and said, "Currently, a total of 1,300 contracts have been signed. The speed of recruiting people is very fast. The reason for such fast speed has a lot to do with the loans. The first batch of products exceeded 100%. 70 of them were purchased by the partners themselves, and the largest number has sold 4 units, and the sellers were all close relatives, friends, and colleagues. The current total sales are £14 million, and the net profit is £5.35 million. This is the net profit. After deducting the rent of the office building, employee wages, and the mess of the front space, our gross profit is 100%. Tomorrow we'll start a new round of gatherings in the northern suburbs. Now through our systematic coordination, we have reached cooperation with many surrounding 5-star hotels. In the future, the cost of this aspect can be reduced by half. Buses, car rental companies, stages planning companies, these have reached cooperation, and the cost can be reduced by up to 70%, and the minimum is 30%. As for buses, we plan to buy a few old buses, and we can also get tax deductions. There is also the tax issue, because the contracts signed with these people are non-exclusive licensing contracts. Their wages, social insurance, employee insurance, and other messy things are not included. All income is calculated into the corporate income tax. This tax is particularly expensive. Comprehensive calculation come down, 33%. We are not specialized in tax issues. We have recently been negotiating with a large local tax escrow company. They said that they can increase the tax rate to 20% through some legal channels. There are no employees, which relieves GFN too much of its burden. If you include employee wages, corporate expenses, profits of major middlemen and dealers, plus corporate income tax, foreign companies will simply not be able to survive here. The UK is not a big place, with a population of over 50 million. Our target group accounts for less than 30% of the total population, which is the age group of 35 to 50 years old. Then we will soon encounter a bottleneck. If it develops quickly, within 3 months, GFN will become an underground monster in the UK. When we were young, we should publish more newspapers and not advertise in some more authoritative media, which would easily attract the attention of the authorities. We should go to some pheasant media. When we develop, we should not publish any media advertisements. Be a low-key elephant and live a long life. The British population is too small and the market is too small. The market can be saturated in a short period of time. What is the most important thing now? Systematize this model, recruit people, and train them to be able to work, and as we develop rapidly, we must make talents high-end. If a company binds the common people at the bottom, it may disappear at any time, but when it binds high-level intellectuals, entrepreneurs, social activists, celebrities, and even officials, it is like the roots of a big tree. No matter what, no matter how hard the wind blows or the rain hits, you will never fall down. You must understand this truth. We are now developing the branches and leaves above. As they grow, we must find ways to take root. The roots are not thick enough and the roots are not deep enough. If there is a slight disturbance, it will fall down. Another problem is that inspections to Germany and France need to be put on the agenda. We should first open an office there and conduct a social survey of the surrounding residents. After we understand the social structure, it will be easier to start and bring the first batch of whoever has more control over the entire process first will pull the team through. This is definitely an opportunity for them. If they get a firm foothold and do a good job, they will be the person in charge of the branch. When you go down to the meeting, tell them that there are definitely not many such opportunities. In addition, cooperation fangs team issues. This is a big problem. If you don't do well, a big team will break up. So we need to set up a hierarchical system to make them feel that if they work hard, they can move up to a higher level. Let the system manage people and let people manage people. If something goes wrong, sooner or later, my son will be born. So, grade the agents, adjust the levels every month, and distribute profits according to different levels. The entry level is level 9. If you sell a product, you will be given the current price. The highest level agent, such as 790 for 9 products, they get 199, and we give them back £100 per unit. One advantage of doing this is that the monthly income of the first level agents will be very explosive, forming a head effect, and the number of people who can do it is limited. We can't spend much more. We mainly rely on the huge 9th level agents, but you can think about it if someone sells 100 sets of products a month. A set of products costs $799 for a TV set, $899 for a VCD, and $499 for a stereo. They get almost £500 from selling a set, plus a rebate of more than £200 for them, multiplied by 100, that's £7,000 to £80,000. What is the concept of an income of £70,000 to £80,000 a month? Isn't it just getting rich overnight? We must make this rebate system solid and popularize it. It will be the most solid foundation for our development. Sean quickly calculated the funds for this model in his notebook. At first glance, it seemed that the higher you go, the more you will get. However, ability determines that more than 90% of people cannot go up, and only that one is left. A small number of lucky people can only get it for a month or two at most, and the expenditure is not much, but the effect is great. For ordinary employees, the salary of Secretary Lee's IC is the same, but the position is different and the information obtained is different. The company is about to expand, so there are many people who want to grab the position of the head of the branch in other countries. European countries are there are many, but there are also many people from China. For her, this opportunity is very precious. Huang Mao and Gao Nose went downstairs, sat in the car and smoked cigarettes. They couldn't understand, how could such a powerful person like Sean be like this? I really don't understand. How dare a foreigner be so disrespectful to us? The more Huang Mao thought about it, the more unhappy he became. He said towards the bridge of his nose, "Do you really think of us as assistants? I told you last year that if you weren't in a big company, you wouldn't have much of a future as an assistant to these powerful people. You also told me to accumulate some connections. Now it's better. I've accumulated this network," the tall nose bridge said with a strange air. "Damn it, you dare to look down on me? Can his stuff stand up to an inspection?" Huang Mao smoked a cigarette and suddenly thought of Li Ziaxi. He raised his eyebrows and said, "That girl from the east is pretty good. I think she looks like I don't have much knowledge either. We had a few chats last time and wanted to stay. You can do it if you want. She just wants to stay. Coming from a poor place, that's all she can dream about," Gao Naji said casually. After Lu Feng finished the meeting and arranged everything, Sean chatted for a few words and left. Lu Feng gave him a new task, to help win over some powerful people, and to introduce some retired important people to join the team. The salary for a position as a consultant in a company is very high. Lu Feng and Li Ziaxi were the only two people left in the office. Li Ziaxi stood there mentally drafting something, wanting to say that he was willing to be one of the first pioneers to go to other countries. Tomorrow is a new conference. Are everything ready? Lu Feng asked without raising his head. I'm going now. Li Ziaxi lowered his head and walked out. In the evening, the company, which had been here for more than a month, began to operate normally, and its employees began to work from 9 to 5. With more free time, many people from the company began to stroll around the city, and some even went to nightclubs. As I got to know people around me, there began to be more tidbits in the company. Some people fell in love with local employees who came in, and some hooked up with the front desk of the coffee shop downstairs. The sun sets in the west, and the golden sunshine shines on the clean and tidy city. The trees on the side of the road have taken out their branches. The weather has begun to warm up. The sunset looks so beautiful, but the other side of the earth has ushered in the morning sun, but on that side people have no intention of appreciating these, and are busy working in the world. Perhaps they occasionally hear news about that country in the news, and envy the prosperity there, as if they are not on the earth. The joys and sorrows of human beings are not the same. Their sunset is as beautiful as a painting, but our morning sun is as tragic as a drop of blood. You were feeding the pigeons in London in 1995, while I was digging the ground in the Chinese countryside in 1995. Li Ziaxi didn't want to go back after work, so she wandered around the leisure area in front of the company, feeling a little confused. There had been a lot of capable people in the company recently. She also thought about it. If it was the next branch, Mr. Lu would definitely Mr. Lu or Mr. Li will be sent to stabilize the overall situation. Competing with so many people, she knew in her heart that her organizational leadership skills were not good. Her biggest advantage was bilingualism. If she were to choose people normally, she would definitely have no chance. If she could become a vice president, she might still have a chance. This is abroad. Li Ziaxi, you don't have to think so much, no one knows you, and there are no moral shackles, Li Ziaxi cheered to himself. Huang Mao saw her coming downstairs and wandering here. He stepped on the accelerator and sped over. He lowered the window and whistled. He stuck his head out of the window and said, "Hey, do you want to go out for a drink?" Li Ziaxi turned around and saw the two of them, frowned slightly and said, "No, I'll go back and rest later." "No, how about going to a bar? Are there bars in your country? I'll take you there to learn more." Huang Mao didn't wait for the other party to refuse and said, "Get in the car. There are bars in our country. I'm from Shenzhen. I won't go out drinking with you," Li Ziaxi said angrily and prepared to go back. She knew exactly what they wanted to do. "Don't be so heartless. Get in the car. We know many people who are following Sean. As long as they are willing to help you, it will be a simple matter for you to become a British citizen," Gao No said very directly. Li Ziaxi was stunned for a moment when he heard about naturalization, but after thinking about it for a moment, he still felt that it would be better to start with Mr. Lu first. At least Lu Feng was rich, young, and good-looking. If he became a branch executive, naturalization would not be a simple matter. Son, in comparison, the conditions of yellow hair and high nose bridge are not so attractive. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1015. Latest website. After Huang Mao and High Nose were rejected, their noses were almost crooked with anger. If they didn't teach Lu Feng a lesson, it would be hard to get rid of their anger. During dinner, Lu Feng sat there and pondered whether to integrate the head-pulling mode into the game, so that he would have no problem sweeping across Europe in half a year. The key is that as long as there is a performance of attracting people and new people come in, it will be considered a pyramid scheme. If there is a problem, it will most likely be deemed a pyramid scheme when the court determines it. After pondering for a long time, Lu Feng gave up. This model is now the safest. The opportunity for poor people to get rich overnight plus loans are already very attractive to ordinary people. It's nothing more than attracting a group of poor people, asking them to take out loans to buy their own products, and then tricking their relatives and friends around them. Li Ziaxi sat in the room hesitantly, secretly thinking about how to speak to Lu Feng. He also thought that since he was a translator and secretary, he would definitely not be allowed to leave in the first batch, so he would have to target the next few European countries. The position of vice president of the company. What she has to do now is to try her best to lock in a vice president position first. At 7 o'clock in the evening, she changed into a relatively close-fitting dress that showed off her figure. She stood in front of the mirror and looked at it, and was very satisfied. A few minutes later, Lu Feng walked to his door, opened the door and returned home. Li Ziaxi heard the sound of the door opening, walked out of the room and knocked on Lu Feng's door. Lu Feng opened the door and saw Li Ziaxi standing there beautifully dressed, with a slightly flustered look on his face, and he asked, "What's the matter again?" I am very grateful for your trust. I have made great progress during this period. I would like to treat you to a meal alone." Li Ziaxi stared at the floor and said, "I've eaten. I look so good today. I'll tell you in advance next time. Besides, I have something to do tomorrow," Lu Feng replied. "Then can I go in? I have a lot to say to you." The moment Lu Feng saw her, he guessed what she was going to do. After spending time together, he had a certain understanding of this little girl and said, "Come in." Li Ziaxi walked in. After all, it was the first time he had done such a thing. He was in a state of confusion and didn't know where to start. He looked completely at a loss and sat there silently. Lu Feng didn't say anything. He sat down and lit a cigarette and looked at her. Li Ziaxi felt that her heart was about to jump out of her chest. She had rehearsed countless times in the room. She would chat a little bit first and then lean towards him. If he didn't resist, she would find an opportunity to get into his arms. But now the words are on my lips and I can't say them. The room was so quiet that Li Ziaxi could even hear her own heartbeat and breathing. After a few minutes of silence, her mind twitched and she said, how about we take it off?" Cough cough cough, Lu Feng coughed as he was choked by the cigarette and twisted the cigarette butt into the ashtray. In an instant, Li Ziaxi blushed to the root of her neck and did not dare to raise her head. "You have done a very good job in translation. As for me, I am divorced and I must have more experience than you." Lu Feng looked at her and spoke first, saying, "I have always thought that I am a more serious person, of course. Yes, I am also a normal man, but I have principles and a bottom line." Li Ziaxi's palms were sweaty, and she told herself over and over again that she was abroad, so she had to risk her life. She stood up and reached for the zipper of her skirt. "What are you doing? It's not good for us to do this. Let me say it again, I am a serious person. You still have to think carefully when doing things. If you do this again, I will not be polite." The next day, at 7:30 in the morning, Lu Feng got out of bed, put on his clothes, and said to Li Ziasi on the bed, "You don't have to go to the meeting today, just sort out some company documents." "I see." Lu Feng changed his clothes, and with the sound of closing the door, the room fell into silence. Li Ziasi was lying on the bed with a slight blush on her face. She took a deep breath and smiled involuntarily. She had succeeded and had already reached the goal. At this step, aren't everything else stable? At 9 o'clock, Inland Feng of the five-star hotel stood on the stage and spoke passionately. Several big speakers in the audience watched Lu Feng's typhoon seriously. Now it is more fluent than the first one. Lu Feng understood very well what kind of words they reacted to more intensely and what kind of stories made these people empathize more. The people applauding at the scene were like lunatics. Their thoughts were completely dominated by Lu Feng on the stage. He instilled his own set of theories into the minds of these people. There was an endless stream of people who burst into tears of gratitude. Some people cried loudly, and some fell to their knees. Compared with the first game, no one could withstand the 3-day continuous bombing this time. Even if someone resisted, they would have left as early as the second game. In the third game, all 1,500 people signed up, and no one could escape. At the same time, the 3 trainees who had practiced for 3.5 days were basically out of school and were about to rush to other provinces to start business. The team of the first game also had its first gathering today. A group of people gathered together in the leisure park. Everyone's faces were glowing with glory after not seeing each other for a few days. All the clothes on their bodies were changed into new ones. They found an open space. A group of people played music, applauded and cheered each other up. The first place in this team, with sales volume reaching 30 units, was rated as a first-class agent, and received a total of £24,000 including rebates. This income made everyone at the scene exclaim. Louise looked blankly at the woman standing in front. She had sold 6 sets in the past few days and earned £3,000. This income was already that of an ordinary employee. 4 months of income. Louise's life was greatly improved. Not only was she equipped with a telephone, but she also bought a mobile phone and found a nanny for her children. Her life was turned upside down. "Oh, you bought it?" Mrs. Paul looked ahead in disbelief and said, "This is so crazy, who did she sell it to? Most people can't afford such expensive things." "Sell to rich people," Louise looked ahead gloomily. She was really happy these days. She couldn't believe so much money before. However, she was not so happy now and said in a deep voice, "We can also do it. After making money, we can buy a new car this year. Did you see the guy in front of me? When I attended the conference for the first time, he was sitting next to me. After getting the voucher, he went to KFC to eat. Like a dead ghost." That, Mrs. Paul couldn't believe it. He was the more eye-catching person today, wearing expensive new clothes and driving an expensive car. The saying that poor people suddenly get rich is arrogant and domineering. This sentence is applicable to all mankind. Many people get loans, add the money they earn, and start to consume in advance, as if selling a few sets of products every day is not just fun as long as they work hard. These people will stimulate other people, so the entire team is working hard to sell things. There is no need for the company to urge them. Comparison with each other is the best medicine. Rebates were distributed on site, and it was announced that the company would provide a venue for everyone at the Kelet Hotel twice a month. The next party will be at a 5-star hotel, and a photographer will be invited. I hope everyone can keep their best side. Louise has decided to contact some relatives she hasn't contacted for a long time, as well as her former colleagues, and use all the connections she can use. As long as she works hard, she may be closer to her dream. Selling 100 sets may be possible. £80,000, 1,000 sets is £800,000. 800,000. Enough to buy a sports car and a garden villa to spend the rest of my life. In the company, Liziasi was sitting in the office, handing over all the work in her hands to the new interns. Today she was obviously tougher, and she was not so polite to the heads of many departments. She was straightforward and annoying. Many people are unhappy. There have long been rumors in private that she was having an affair with Mr. Liu, and everyone was trying to endure it. The second batch of people were all signed soon. GFeng already has a sales team of more than 3,000 people. They work in all walks of life, and people are constantly joining through recruitment. After the conference was completed, Lu Feng stopped going out and handed it over to his subordinates. A new conference will start tomorrow. If all the speakers trained are deployed, no less than 5 such conferences will be held in the UK every day. Counting 1,000 people in a single game, that's 5,000 people every day. Even if there is no capitation fee, these 5,000 people can grow to 10,000 people by recruiting poor friends and relatives around them. Lu Feng is confident that the team can grow to 200,000 people within a month. The next day, all 3 major speakers took the stage. With this frequency, basically all target users around London could be tapped within 3 to 5 days. Lu Feng finally had some free time. Sean helped introduce a few people and had a few meals together. 2 of them joined GFeng as consultants or honorary directors. Huang Mao and Gao Nose became more and more angry when they went back. With their status, they couldn't even handle a girl from a third world country. It's embarrassing to talk about it. You have to know that in developed countries now, it is very common for girls from poor areas to marry old men in order to stay. They are all chasing after me. GFeng's biggest competitors are companies such as Siemens and Beko. After all, home appliances in developed countries only compete in the stock market and do not have much growth rate. After the 2 discussed it, they directly contacted the CEO of Siemens branch through several phone calls and told him everything about GFeng's recent activities. What? Tens of thousands of people. The other end of the phone was shocked when he heard that Lu Feng had grown to tens of thousands of people. That's right, it's estimated to be more than 10,000. We personally participated in this project, and Sean worked as a business consultant for him. We were not ashamed of such despicable methods, so we left resolutely, Huang Mao said very righteously. In order to attract Siemens' attention, he deliberately exaggerated the number. As everyone knows, the number of GFeng agents at this moment has grown to 50,000. Not to mention them, Lu Feng can't believe this speed. The desire of the poor to get rich overnight is beyond the imagination of ordinary people. The president of the branch hung up the phone and was about to tell the headquarters about the matter immediately, but when he thought about it, there was no relevant data to support it. If the news was false, it was his own responsibility. He immediately called Mark and asked him to conduct another investigation. After the call was connected, the person directly said, "It's me, the CEO of Siemens branch. Please investigate GFeng's situation today. The price will double." Mark sat in the BMW and listened to the voice on the phone. He snorted disdainfully and said, "First, please call me Boss Mark. Second, as a 4th-level agent of GFeng, please give me some advice on my cooperation. Be respectful, you can investigate if you want. Third, I have a lot of money, don't call me in the future, I'm afraid GFeng will misunderstand." Listening to the busy tone on the phone is numb. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1016. Latest website. The president of the branch company has already sensed that something is wrong, and the mere ability to brainwash people into this is beyond the scope of all corporate training. Thinking of this, I didn't bother to go to the market terminal to investigate, and reported the situation as soon as possible. GFeng's development speed not only exceeded everyone's expectations, but even Lu Feng was a little surprised by the development speed of this model. It is by no means a simple 1 plus 2, 2 plus 3 development model, but a multiplicative speed. After the foundation is huge, it can be doubled in 10 days. This also caused the small banks originally contracted to lend loans to exceed their budgets, and they had no choice but to join 4 new large and medium-sized banks. At present, Schroders Financial Group is the one that is most guaranteed to make money without losing money. The time has entered the end of March, and April is about to start. The weather is starting to get hotter. The offices of the 3 EU countries of Germany, France, and Italy have sent 3 teams to try to cover multiple countries before June. At the same time, Sean's team will assist these 3 offices in their work and provide some local business conditions, market conditions, etc. Of course, Lu Feng hired Sean, and the team behind him is only assisting and will not really no matter how much efforts we make. The most important thing is to rely on cooperation with local consulting companies. In the conference room, Manager Li, Sean, and several newly promoted executives had roughly calculated the latest data. Lu Feng looked at the folder in his hand with some disbelief and asked, "From where did the new batch of goods come? Has it been issued in China?" "It will arrive at the port the day after tomorrow. There are 150,000 sets of products in this batch, and it will take a day to go through customs," Manager Li replied. "The first batch of goods has been sold out, and now there are less than 3,000 sets of products left. Among them, VCD is the best-selling product. After all, this product has no competitors here. Some people may not listen to the lies about healthy TVs. But VCD is a real thing. We have a new problem now. Because the goods are delivered first, some people rush to grab the goods. They tell us that the goods have been sold, but their relatives have not paid for it yet, and they take the goods again. At the same time, they appear among the newly recruited employees. There are corruption issues, illegal delivery of goods to private individuals, delays in getting the payment back, or simply someone taking the loan and goods can't be found," Manager Li said with a serious face. "There are more and more people are taking advantage of loopholes. This situation is normal. There are always smart people. There are not many goods now. We have tightened the quantity of the first batch of goods after new people join. They only give 2 sets. The goods must be placed on the individual's head. At the same time, for some holding those who use other people's identity information to obtain loans must also be severely punished. Yesterday I went to have a meeting with several banks and this aspect will be tightened. After the loan is tightened, it will definitely lead to a sharp decrease in the number of new entrants, so we must grasp the rhythm. This depends on management capabilities. We must use the system to force them to sell goods instead of taking advantage of loopholes," Lu Feng finished. He asked Manager Li, "The first quarter is about to end, how is the profit?" "Currently, our sales volume is 67,000 VCDs, 43,000 TV sets, and more than 30,000 stereos. The total sales volume is £69.75 million and the profit is £34.28 million. With the increase in agents, our expenditure has also increased significantly, with an expected expenditure of £3 million next month, mainly to subsidize their activities." With an income of more than 30 million, Sean was shocked as he sat aside. They had only been here a few months and they had earned more money than 95% of their bosses. However, Sean also understands that this kind of high growth is unsustainable. The British market will continue to explode. After reaching its peak, GFeng's target group will be saturated. Those who can only be fooled will become GFeng agents. Who are you going to fool? At that time, Lu Feng was probably making a lot of money, so he could just leave the mess and leave, but he didn't know if he could take the money away happily. How much money does the subsidy cost? Lu Feng felt a little distressed when he saw these expenditures, but then he thought about it. This is a collective activity fund for 50,000 people, which is not much. Compared with the prices charged by those dealers, it is less. Poor. We can reduce it a little more appropriately, but to carry out activities in the offices in the other 3 countries, we also need money. Our number of employees has also exceeded 1,000, all departments are basically complete, and the overall management framework has been completed. Manager Li replied. Deo, in the first quarter of this year, the profit attributable to the group is expected to reach 500 million yuan. Mr. Liu, when the time comes for international transfers, the money will need to be reviewed. I'm afraid this will be difficult for us. Lu Feng looked at the numbers above. It was easy to make money, but it was hard to get it back. What's more, as it grew bigger and bigger, more people would pay attention. The biggest risk he would face next was censorship. This meeting today is mainly about the risk issues we will face next. The company has grown, and this model is in a gray area. The market is so big. It is difficult for us not to be noticed, so risk prevention must be put on the agenda. Schedule. Lu Feng said to Sean, Mr. Xiao, I also hope that you can use your connections to win over some people who have the right to speak, and we can give up some profits. Sean looked at Lu Feng and asked, how much are you willing to pay? This has to be interviewed. Lu Feng was rather thief and did not answer, just because he was afraid that the old boy would get kickbacks in the process. If there is a chance, I will help introduce you. If there are some dinners, I hope you will attend more. This will make it easier to expand a lot of contacts and manage your personal image. Sean pondered for a moment and said, that's right. Donate, just donate, some things can be done easily if you spend a little money, at least you have a good reputation. Forget it about donations, keep a low profile. If it's a dinner party, if it's important, you can attend. It's best to introduce some heads of powerful departments such as the Ministry of Commerce and Finance. If it's some unimportant people, forget it. Sean nodded and said nothing. He knew such a person, but they were not always available. He secretly complained that it was not easy to do this job without making money. Originally, the Siemens headquarters had put aside such an inconspicuous matter as Jiafeng. The small media outlets seemed to be taking advantage of it and stopped publishing reports criticizing Jiafeng. However, at this moment, they looked at the branch's sales in the UK without saying a word. Herman turned over the page on the report several times. He was sure that he was not wrong. Sales in the UK market fell directly in March. 40%. Me. Herman made a curse word. The markets in developed countries are very stable and it is impossible for such big fluctuations to occur. However, reality has happened. A folder next to it contained a report about Jiafeng Electronics. Herman picked it up, flipped through it, and smashed it directly on the table. It said how Jiafeng had developed to what it is today in a short period of time, and its impact on the British market. It's simply lawless. You can do whatever you want. It's already affected the market so seriously. Are those regulators just eating shit? Herman picked up the phone on the table and called the president in charge of home appliances directly, come to me. A trip to the office. A few minutes later, a man in his 50s walked in. Take a look and deal with it as soon as possible. Don't hold back on this company. There is no mercy. Beat it to death. Herman threw the 2 folders on the table. After speaking, he was stunned for a moment. For several months, Fuzhou has been talking about cooperation and asking its affiliated companies to exchange communication technologies, but so far there has been no movement. Wait a moment. We can postpone this matter for 2 days and contact Lambert on Wall Street. We can use this matter as a bargaining chip to discuss. Herman suddenly stopped being anxious and said, he is developing so fast in the front, but he will definitely have to wait and see in the future. Slow down and take your time. Beko, in the chairman's office, George's face was not good looking. The ratings of their wireless TV programs were rising steadily, but the sales of TV sets were declining. There were only those brands on the market, and I didn't see any of them recently. Promotions and discounts should not fluctuate so much. There was a knock on the office door, and Paul opened the door and walked in. He placed a folder on the table with a subtle expression on his face. "What is this?" George raised his head and asked. "The market situation report of GFN Electronics shows that their development speed is too fast, which is far beyond our understanding. There are tens of thousands of agents, and the sales volume is almost the same as our annual income." Paul said, his voice was trembling. When he first saw this information, he couldn't believe it was true. Even if a miracle is created, it must be done in accordance with basic regulations. How many years has Beko been established, and how many days has GFN been here? But this is the truth. George's pupils began to dilate as he looked through the contents, and his heart was filled with shock. If it continues to develop at this speed, who can stop him? This news hasn't been leaked, right? No one in the stock market knows about it, right? George asked the stock market immediately. No one knows. Besides, our stock has been falling all year round, so we don't care about it. Paul sighed, sat down and said, GFN's development is too fast. Although this model looks like it's not that great, but it's practical. The two looked at each other, as if they understood what the other was thinking. What do you say? George closed the folder and said, let him disappear and then we become him. This is a way, and GFN is a foreign-funded enterprise. We have more advantages in the local area. If we let it continue to develop like this, Siemens will not die. People can live well even without the electronics industry. We will die. There are a lot of things here that are not legal. Paul leaned forward and said, report him. George nodded and said, I will report him personally. You send someone over to check out their model first. It is best to recruit a few people from their company to take the lead on this project. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1017. Latest website. George didn't want to make this matter a big deal. The stock market was a place where you could only hear good news. If there was a slight disturbance, the stock price would plummet like diarrhea. He didn't want this result. GFN can make so much money in a short period of time, which shows that this model is very good and can be implemented. As long as he uses some means to make GFN fall, and then follows this model, he will be able to win over the people in GFN. Are you coming? George and Paul just did what they said, convening 3 core senior executives to discuss it, and decided to ask the company's vice president to report with real names and collect relevant evidence, mainly from quality inspection, comprehensive taxation, and market supervision. Since GFN Electronics is a foreign-invested enterprise that entered the country through customs, it was reported to the Ministry of Commerce, Customs, and other relevant departments for asset freezing. In the afternoon of that day, Beko people entered an event site of GFN Electronics, recorded the live video as evidence, and spent money to find several people at the scene who claimed to be GFN employees to conduct interviews. Video evidence, written evidence, GFN Electronics corporate information, and GFN sales model were all available in less than 2 days and were directly uploaded. Unlike in China, they all know each other, and at the very least they will call and say harsh words. As long as the other party gives up, they will not continue to toss and focus on threats. George will not give so much face and will die quietly. Hand. Herman is also studying GFN's set of things, but the information he has obtained is incomplete. If this system is complete and can be used on a large scale, it will save a lot of sales channel expenses. The advantage of a small business is flexibility. The boss can get started directly. There are not so many rules and regulations, and you don't have to be responsible to anyone. The disadvantage of a large enterprise is that there are many frameworks and many processes. In order to find out the secret of GFN's quiet wealth, Herman, the company's senior management, contacted several consulting companies immediately. Sean himself opened a consulting company, including working as a consultant for Lu Feng. The contract he signed was also dispatched by the company. As a prominent figure in the European business community, he grasped the trends of Siemens immediately. In a high-end office, Sean sat on the boss's chair and looked through the compiled information in front of him. He basically participated in the whole process of sorting out the business logic of GFN electronics, but some things could not be obtained normally. To operate within the enterprise, for example, turning employees into agents and letting them take on loans. There was a knock on the office door, and a man walked in and said to Sean, "Boss, those two guys have applied for salary, will they be approved?" "No. Two idiots, they only have face in mind," Sean said with a solemn face. "What are we doing here? We are making money, not spending money. Every company has a different boss. If you want to make this money, you have to endure it. They just think there is less money this time. The fee this time is indeed too small. If you come forward, we will not discuss it if it is less than $2 million a year. It's a favor from Kevin." Sean put down the document in his hand and asked, "Those branches of theirs are in other countries. If they are related to our consulting company, they should charge some intermediary fees. Just charge them." "No, you're welcome, he didn't know it was us anyway." "Okay, I heard something today. Siemens has found several small consulting companies, and I heard it's GFN Electronics," the man said. When Sean heard this, he became energetic. He stood up and muttered, "Let me just say, he has become so big. The market is limited, and it will inevitably affect the sales of other companies. Why hasn't he done it yet?" Reaction. "Now is the time to make money. Let people from the company contact you and tell them that I am working as a consultant for them. I know best what is going on inside GFN. Okay, contact me immediately. Also, Siemens is making moves, and Beko must have felt it. The only thing GFN can't shake is Heil. The terminal sales price is too different. George, a person who has no intention of running a business at all, just stares at check Beko as well for your own stocks." Good. After the man left, Sean walked around the office twice. He knew that the time had come for him to make money. It would be best for Lu Feng to follow the two companies and get his brains out. His consulting company would be able to earn enough money there. Money. When Lu Feng needed to know about these two companies, he introduced his own consulting company to him. The news about these two companies came entirely from them. They just needed to make a good cut to avoid exclusivity clauses in the contracts. "I don't know whether you will make money in the end, but I do make money anyway." Sean muttered and sat back down. He wanted to study Lu Feng's stuff and sell it to major companies. He was keenly aware that Lu Feng had strong control over the management of the company. Power, especially in terms of brainwashing employees. It would be worth a lot of money to take these things out separately and provide training to those companies to help them better control their employees. He has been a senior executive in major companies for many years and knows that the biggest headache for senior management is the mobility of middle management. How to keep middle managers in their posts, not to be promoted, not to ask for more money, and to risk their lives to create value for the company has always been a problem for enterprises. After all, lower-level management is easy to find, but middle-level management is the backbone. Today's GFN is definitely a money-printing machine running at full capacity. Countless new agents join every day, and the number of sales in a single day continues to rise. If it is drawn as a trend line, it will definitely be a straight line. In the office, Lu Feng called 3 offices and inquired about the latest situation. They were all considered veterans. The site, company registration, and personnel recruitment had been completed. He was currently conducting a regional personnel survey and could start work while waiting for the goods to be delivered. After making sure that everything was going well, Lu Feng had just hung up the phone when there was a knock on the office door. Before he could react, he was pushed open. Li Ziasi walked in backwards and stopped him. "Please go out. You can't come in without an appointment." Lu Feng raised his head and saw Huang Mao and Gao Nozi. He raised his eyebrows and said, "You two have come in, so don't rush out. You two came here unexpectedly. What's going on?" Huang Mao pushed Li Ziasi away, adjusted his suit, sat on the chair opposite, and said, "I tell you, it's not too late for you to apologize to us, otherwise the consequences will be disastrous. We are here to remind you, not to threaten you," Gao Nozi sneered from the side. Lu Feng looked at the two of them, his brain really knew no boundaries, and asked, "What is your appeal? Is it because I didn't surrender you and my fragile dignity was hurt? It's because you don't have basic etiquette. We came to work with him, but we are also very powerful. You are not qualified to guide us. We graduated from Oxford University, and you are not even qualified to look at us on an equal footing." Huang Mao was very angry. He stared at Lu Feng angrily and shouted. Lu Feng already understood why they were angry. Isn't it because he felt that he was superior to others, and he couldn't find that sense of superiority in himself, so he was angry about his own incompetence? "You two said that you are going to be a senior executive in a big company. You can be considered a businessman. If you praise me, you are an entrepreneur." Lu Feng took out a pack of cigarettes from the drawer, lit one, and looked at the two of them. "You're just a damn bitch, but you still want to make money? If I don't apologize today and hold you two up, what can I do?" When Huang Mao heard that Lu Feng dared to speak harshly, he shouted, "Let's go. Report Jiafeng for false propaganda, right?" Lu Feng asked before he could speak. Huang Mao was right, and he continued with a tall nose, "We and the presidents of other companies. We have a good relationship with them, and then let the big companies come to punish us. Let me help you too, Siemens and Beko, these two companies." Lu Feng smoked a cigarette and asked, "What else?" After being guessed twice in a row, Huang Mao was so angry that his chest hurt. He stared at Lu Feng as if he wanted to eat someone. He stood up and cursed, "Damn it, believe it or not, I find someone to beat me." "Right," Lu Feng looked at them and said, "Please come up with a fourth plan, you two losers." The two of them stood at that moment with nothing in their heads. All their abilities must rely on the huge background and manpower of the company behind them. If they were to stumbling on others alone, they really couldn't think of anything other than these three plans. Other ways. You can't even come up with 4 plans to deal with this person. You're telling me that you two are humming elites? What kind of elites? Are you the elites who sit in the office with the air conditioner blowing and drinking coffee? Lu Feng scolded the two of them. "Now get out of here right now, or I will use the 4th plan to deal with you. Make your contact information into stickers and put them in the men's room, with the words free passion, fierce battle." The yellow hair and the high-bridged nose were almost crooked with anger. The security guard was already standing at the door, warning them to leave quickly, otherwise they would not be polite. After the two left, Lu Feng felt a crisis. The two of them had probably tried all the methods they could. There wasn't much movement from the outside world yet. Maybe he didn't know much about the business community here and hadn't received the news yet. There was another issue. It is possible that the other party is doing it quietly. Cutting, Lu Feng stood up and said to Li Ziasi, "Ask Manager Li to come and notify the person in charge of the outsourcing company to come and cut the outsourcing company. Be prepared to abandon the car at any time to save the handsome man and call Sean. Now within 2 days, I want to meet the person in charge of our department who can seize it." In less than a minute, Manager Li walked in. He heard that someone had broken in and asked with concern, Mr. Liu, were you okay just now? It's all small things. Now register a few more outsourcing companies for me immediately, and transfer all the people from the original outsourcing companies to the new company. Just leave a few people. At the same time, be sure to pay attention to the reviewers in all activities. Photography and photography are strictly prohibited. Videos, recent activities, don't mention things like health, disease treatment, and carcinogenesis. The silent war has knocked on the door. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1018. Latest website. Lu Feng called all the senior management for a meeting, and on the basis of previous risk prevention, he split up the outsourcing company, transferred the core people to the new company, and found some unimportant people to throw out the gun. Of course, the various bureaus are not fools. If you want to resolve this crisis, you still have to start with the leaders. You have to spend money. There is a particularly famous saying in the business world, that is, smart businessmen only make limited profits. Because those who want to monopolize the profits will be killed. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, people from the Market Supervision Bureau took control of one of the GFN electronics team in a 5-star hotel banquet hall and seized and sealed the products on site on charges of false propaganda and illegal assembly. Less than an hour later, the Edinburgh Municipal Supervision Bureau seized on the spot another GFN electronics team located in the city where GFN Electronics was promoting, and the reasons given were the same. The calls kept coming, and troubles were happening to teams across the UK. Lu Feng's face was gloomy, and he stood at the door of the office and said solemnly, "Notify all teams to suspend all business activities. All those that are in progress and have not been investigated. Change it to a sorority and cooperate with all local departments to come and inspect." As the calls came out one by one, all the senior officials in the office looked gloomy, and the whole big office was horribly depressed. Everyone's hard work for so long was probably going to be in vain. The person in charge of the outsourcing company walked in and whispered to Lu Feng, "The core members have completed the resignation procedures. Now there are less than 50 people left. We have found one person." "Is the person here?" Lu Feng asked. The person in charge brought over a British man in his 40s, with a big beard, who looked a little sloppy. Looking at Lu Feng's panic, he was obviously a poor man living in poverty. "What do you do in the company?" Lu Feng asked. "Responsible for stage construction and so on, mainly backstage chores," he replied. "The company has treated you very well during this period, right?" Lu Feng asked again. He nodded. This job was definitely a good one for him. There weren't many things to do and the salary was quite good. "You also know that our company is good at creating miracles and is fair to everyone. You have the potential to get rich overnight. I am very optimistic about you. Now, the company may have some problems. If you are willing to help me, I am also willing to recognize you as my brother. Don't live a mediocre life. Doing odd jobs is a very unadventurous job. As long as you nod your head, you will be the chairman of the company in the next second." Lu Feng patted him on the shoulder and said, "The salary is £5,000 per month. If the police arrest you, I will compensate you ranging from tens to hundreds of thousands." He saw Lu Feng hesitate. "You are already so old, do you have any other hope in life? Give it a try. You won't be able to squat for long, only half a year at most. When you come out, you will have everything. Maybe you will be detained for a few days. You can also get tens of thousands of pounds. I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it." Lu Feng didn't plan to waste any more nonsense. If it doesn't work, he would replace him. The man thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. "Take him down and replace the actual controller of the company with him," Lu Feng ordered to the people next to him. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, quality inspection, market supervision, and taxation jointly enforced the law, sealed the outsourcing company on the spot, and wanted to investigate Jiafeng Electronics as an affiliated company. Lu Feng was mentally prepared for this thorough investigation. He looked at Manager Li and said, "How much cash can you withdraw now?" Cash. Manager Li didn't know what he wanted to do, so he thought for a moment and said, 1 or 2 million, but there is a bank downstairs, so it's convenient to withdraw money. How much can you take? It's best to take out 10 million and put it all in my office, Lu Feng ordered. Manager Li didn't know why, but he could only do as he was told. An hour later, the office area on several floors was filled with people from law enforcement agencies. Everyone left their posts. As the person in charge of the company, Lu Feng showed various business certificates and customs orders. A lot of information was spread on the desk. Check them all. After confirming that there was no problem, one of the director-level white men came over, looked at Lu Feng and asked, "What is your relationship with Riggs Sales Company?" "Cooperative relationship. Here are all the contracts, we entrust them to sell products, they guarantee us sales, and we guarantee their exclusive agency in the market," Lu Feng replied. "Who is the actual controller of this company?" "It's a man named Hunter. I've met him twice, but I don't know him very well," Lu Feng replied. "Ha ha ha," he smiled with disdain. As the person in charge of this joint law enforcement, he was definitely experienced in investigating this kind of company. He said, "He just became the Regis Sales Company this afternoon. Have you been in contact with the actual controller a few months ago? Besides, he was just a handyman and suddenly became the boss." Lu Feng was not in a hurry after hearing this, and said with a smile, "You come into the office, and I will talk to you about this matter slowly. Don't be in a hurry, we can't run away." The director narrowed his eyes and glanced at Lu Feng. He hesitated and walked towards Lu Feng's office. He opened the door and saw that the floor, sofa, and table inside were all covered with money. It was shocking at first glance. "Please come in. This is our company's decoration style. Feel free to step on it. It's called making money with your feet. This sofa is for distinguished guests. What's leaning on the back is not a pillow, but 2 million pounds. It's called leaning on a golden mountain. You please take a seat." As Lu Feng spoke, he quietly observed the reaction of the person in front of him. It was obvious that he was extremely shocked. How many people could bear the sight in front of him? If he didn't show disgust the first time, then there would be endless sinking. But are there people in this world who hate money? "What's your name?" Lu Feng asked him. "Charlie." His voice was a little weak. Charlie has seen money. After all, he audits some companies, but this is the first time he has seen financial resources displayed in this way. This method is really stupid, and the face of the nouveau riche, but he doesn't know why. He feels the planting soil actually exudes a charming fragrance, especially the smell of bank notes, which is more relaxing than killing chickens. "Lu Feng. We are an international company from the East. Our main sales products are home appliances. If we are new to your country and are unfamiliar with the place, we will inevitably be deceived. With such a huge situation today, I can only speak from my heart. I'm really scared, and we are here to create income for your country. After all, you have to invest the money you make, and provide jobs. After coming here for so long, we have really felt the high quality and enthusiasm of the British people. But this is my first time seeing law enforcement. We should be friends. The most hated thing in business is illegal elements. Since you have already taken action, I believe that there must be something wrong with that agency. As the saying goes, many friends mean many paths. Today I have gotten to know you. When I was in our country, I often dealt with these leaders. If you know me a little bit, you will know that I am a very generous person and often give away furniture and other things. Lu Feng patted the sofa next to him as he spoke. Charlie knows that this company is not clean at all. They came to investigate after receiving a report letter from Beko. From what they know now, the most they can do is false propaganda, and the fine will not be much, and it will not hurt. Small problem. Any chair in this office is enough to punish, and there are many such ones in local companies. In addition, the smiling young man in front of me seems to be very knowledgeable and well-spoken. That was in your place, how can you still do this here? Charlie's criticism seemed very weak. Yes, I will definitely correct it. I like to make friends. I will organize a bureau someday and treat you to a meal. Many important people will come by then. As for me, I can do this business. Customs, taxation, I still have many friends in the field of market inspection. Lu Feng is not willing to spend money on a little guy like him. Drawing a cake for him is just enough. I have already shown you this much money. I also know many important people, which is enough for him to imagine. Charlie sat there, feeling the diaphragm under his buttocks, licked his lips, looked at Lu Feng and said, "Are you describing a wonderful future to me?" "No. I am stating the facts. At your age, you have enough room for improvement. You can definitely run for election. If you do it, I will definitely support you. We are an international company and we need friends." Lu Feng faced Lu stared at him with a smile. Charlie felt a little hot in his heart. How many people could digest this kind of cake? Let me put it bluntly, your company's problems are not big. It is best not to involve pyramid schemes. This thing has done a lot of harm to us in the past 2 years, Charlie warned. Don't worry, it won't happen. We are a normal company. After speaking, Lu Feng walked to his desk, opened the drawer and took out a business card. He saw a small gold bar in the drawer, took it out and put it away. Underneath the business card, he put the business card in Charlie's suit jacket pocket and said, "My business card." A few minutes later, Charlie walked out, and Lu Feng followed behind and closed the office door. "Okay, I've asked for the relevant information clearly. There's no need to check here. Focus on checking that Riggs store. Let's close the team." After finishing speaking, Charlie took the lead and walked downstairs. Lu Feng watched everyone retreat and took a deep breath. Now he must find a backer, otherwise this road will not work. It is possible to make small money, but it is difficult to make big money. "Isn't that old boy Sean here yet?" Lu Feng asked Manager Li. "The phone said I was in contact and would come back later. Don't wait for him anymore. Let's have a meeting. Stop the activities first and appease the existing agents." Lu Feng knew that the current situation required attacking from both sides. The market was about to welcome companies like Beko and even Siemens. In terms of supervision, he also needed to know more leaders. The end must be starvation. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1019. Latest website. More than half an hour later, Sean arrived late. Seeing that everything was normal inside the company, he was a little surprised. He knew George relatively well. He might be average in running a business, but he had a wide range of connections. "Very. You're finally here," Lu Feng looked at him and said solemnly. "Mr. Lu, it's hard to find someone for this matter." "Didn't they come?" Sean asked doubtfully. "Already gone, but this matter has just begun. Our recent development has been a little slower, and we need to deal with our competitors." Lu Feng stared at Sean, took out a cigarette from his pocket, lit one, and lit it. Said, "You can't say that because there is no salary, you won't even do the work, right?" "Absolutely not. These people are not easy to find, but I contacted a congressman and I can have a meal at night." "What's the use of a congressman?" Lu Feng didn't expect him to play a decisive role. After all, other people's interests were different from his own. This was obvious when he was given the equity. I'll contact a few more tonight. Sean was very curious about what method Lu Feng used to make the joint law enforcement officers leave, and wondered, have you found a leader? No, but I showed him something, Lu Feng said, and walked towards the office. After entering the office, Sean stared at the scene in front of him with wide eyes. The expression on his face was very incredible, and he asked in surprise, what is this for? Renovation. If you don't show off your financial resources, how can you tempt that person? Lu Feng said to him, come in and close the door. Sean closed the door and stepped on the banknotes under his feet. Although he was very rich, the feeling was still different. Such a situation could easily break a person's psychological defense, even if he was a rich man. He just saw so much money and left. Sean asked, confused, didn't you give him any money? Giving money is called bribery. I'm just showing that I have money. Spreading the money here is like a beautiful woman taking off her clothes. If you are a well-dressed beautiful woman, it has nothing to do with others, but this is the case with the naked scene. He will feel that there is no barrier between everyone, and sooner or later it will be his. After Lu Feng said that, he picked up the phone and called Manager Li, asking someone to come over and collect the money. After the office was tidied up, Sean had been sitting there thinking about what the young man in front of him would do if he encountered such a thing. In his understanding, Lu Feng might have his own unique understanding of business planning, but in other aspects he was absolutely there are shortcomings, and no one can have the best of both worlds at this age. Then what are you going to do next? If I'm not wrong, this matter was probably done by Beko. George is not very capable, but he is very capable in interpersonal relationships. Sean took the initiative to throw the problem out. What should I do? Lu Feng took a puff of cigarette and snorted, him. There is no direct market conflict between you, so there can be no collision in the market. Competition will be difficult. Sean gave his own idea, it is better to stabilize each department first and drag it out in private. Making money is important. No, how can they let go of such a money-making thing? There is a saying that when you go out to mess around, you have to do a lot of things to your friends and a few to your opponents, but some people can't do it with you right away. Friends, we need to clean up and find common interests, Lu Feng said to Sean. The money has been earned, more than £30 million, which is a lot. I did a rough calculation. If GFN covers the entire British market, estimated to be £300 million, so what do you think is the most important thing now? What? Sean already had the answer in his mind, but he just didn't think he had the courage. Throw money. How much? Spread them all out. Sean sat up straight and was shocked when he saw Lu Feng. This was £30 million. How could he be willing to do it? Are you willing? Sean was a little unconvinced. He had such a big belly at such a young age. This is a huge gamble. Now he has made 30 million. If it were an ordinary person, he would have taken away the money and continued to do the same thing in another country. Why are you so reluctant to give up? It's only 30 million. As the old saying goes, you can't bear to give up your children if you can't trap the wolf. You don't have the skills to climb over the widow's wall. What are you talking about? Sean frowned. Oriental proverb, Lu Feng said to him, I want to spend money, entertain everyone, make friends, and spread wealth because I feel that you are unreliable. Sean smiled awkwardly and said, my ability is limited, but as long as you are willing to spend money, leave the rest to me, and I will spend the money beautifully for you. Then please, it's best to help me find some good brothers. Just go ahead and decide on various matters. I will form a team to contact you when the time comes, Lu Feng said to him. Thank you, go ahead and get busy. The outsourcing company was investigated and all activities were cancelled. For a time, all agents under GFN Electronics were panicked. Some people privately spread the news that the company was illegal and would close down. The new outsourcing company spent the whole day calling the heads of the major teams to appease these people and let everyone sell goods with peace of mind, because we are too powerful and have helped too many poor people, and there are some evil capitalists who are suppressing us. But how can evil possibly triumph over good? George was very happy when he learned that GFN was under investigation. After all, he was a foreigner and still couldn't get enough of it here. Was he living in vain all these years? There was a knock on the office door, and Paul opened the door and walked in. "How's it going?" George asked. "There's good news and bad news." "What's the good news?" George frowned. "The good news is that there is a consulting company that has a special understanding of GFN and can provide them with a complete set of business solutions," Paul replied. There was a smile on George's face. This was much faster than investigating and poaching people by himself. He said, "It's a good thing. If you go fast, it can be launched in half a month. The company's half-year report will definitely look good." "There is also bad news," Paul hesitated and said, "there is nothing wrong with GFN Electronics. They just sealed up an outsourcing company, and I heard that this company has been emptied and moved." "What?" George couldn't believe it and shouted, "This is led by Charlie, how is it possible?" "The news I got is indeed like this," Paul said helplessly. "I'll give him a call." The Siemens branch began to focus on GFN again. Group President Herman was still contacting the United States and FUSU to discuss conditions. However, with everything that happened today, they felt that someone had already taken action. At the group headquarters, there were 2 or 3 executives sitting in Herman's office. Each of them was holding a cup of coffee in their hands and looking at each other without speaking. One of them, a black man in his 50s, said, "I don't think the home appliance business is in how big a proportion it accounts for in the group, just leave this matter to the business president." "That's right, I don't know what we are sitting here talking about, let alone what is GFN? What kind of bullshit company? I have never heard of it. I just looked at the information and it is simply insulting another 6." the 10-year-old man said, throwing the folder in his hand on the table. "Herman is the president of the group. For a company as big as Siemens, it is mainly engaged in electrical engineering, communications, semiconductors, etc. Any one of them is more important than home appliances. Mr. Herman, after the split, Nokia has recovered in the global market. You should not focus on such a company, but Nokia, Sony, Panasonic, or Intel." Herman was not angry after hearing what they said, and said calmly, "Both the United States and FUSU are eyeing this company, and GFN is also making semiconductors and has cooperation with Nokia in the field of communications. In this competitive environment, I think this company should be able to sell it at a good price, and at least we can get in touch with the semiconductor company in FUSU. The 3 of you look at me and I look at you. I wonder if this company that is written in the information and looks like a scam company has so much energy. If it's true, you can try it. So you agree? That's good. Next, I will shift the focus of my work to this company." Herman made a phone call and said to the phone, "Submit today's information." A few minutes later, a beautiful clerk came in with a folder, put it on the table and left. Herman looked at it with something wrong on his face. "We need to hurry up. The British company Beko Electronics has already taken action." Herman handed the folder in his hand to the 3 people opposite and said, "We should catch him first, and then talk to those 2 parties. Let's talk about the business." The 3 of them were not interested in the contents of the folder in their hands at all. What kind of tricks could such a small company do? As everyone knows, Lu Feng has a lot of fancy jobs. A few hours later, Lambert, who was on vacation, answered Herman's call. Herman also knew that the companies in these 2 countries were not afraid of GFN, but the Schroders group behind GFN. Lu Feng coming to Europe is also for the Schroder group. As long as Lu Feng earns more money, the Schroder group will have more confidence in him and dare to invest more. "Dear Mr. Lambert, long time no see," Herman said into the phone, "I want to tell you news. Maybe you don't know much about the situation in Europe. Didn't you ask me to do something before? Now, I need to talk to you." What happened? Lambert was a little surprised. After thinking for a moment, he didn't remember what happened to him. Remember GFN Electronics? This company is booming now. Guess how much money he made in just a few months? Herman asked with a smile while leaning on his chair. When Lambert heard the words GFN Electronics, his heart skipped a beat. He had already realized that something was wrong. That kid had really become famous in Europe. How much? Why are you so secretive? Lambert said in a very calm voice. Although the number of 30 million is astonishing, it is not enough to make people frightened. Since he is forced to come up with good things to communicate, he has to take some strong medicine. Herman smiled slightly and said, 300 million pounds. 300 million? Or pounds? Did he rob Britain? Latest website.